What is happening, my friends? I am super stoked to be back making some content. I kind of hate that word, actually. Content, there's contents in my fridge, there's contents in my toilet right now, you know what I mean? Making art, talking, hanging for YouTube, you know, longer form stuff. My primary work is making short, you know, analysis and poetic pieces celebrating martial arts. So I've been hanging out, building a lot of short things. So it's nice to be able to sit and hang. People on YouTube have always been great to me. And I also have this incredible freedom now. You know, I don't have to talk about whatever fight is happening on Saturday night in a corporate television program. I don't have to, I get to do whatever I want. It's amazing, and I'm very grateful. So what I wanna do is simply answer questions. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get into the first one. Okay, at JustBleed420. Why do you wear makeup in karate combat? Okay. Every single person, male, female, on television or in any type of sporting event is wearing makeup. Whether it's Stephen A. Smith or Tom Brady or whomever, they got more makeup on than me. I just like to wear it in sort of a theatrical way, right? And if you're gonna tell me that I actually can't do that, I find that unacceptable. Guys have been wearing makeup, pirates, you know, rock and rollers. It has been a normal part of self-expression. Also, why is it completely acceptable in pro wrestling? And a friend of mine the other day said, what's with the makeup? Are you doing a concert after? Wait a second, it's okay for me to wear theatrical makeup in a concert, but not at karate combat? I will not accept that. I'm gonna express myself however I want, whenever I want. And you should too. This is your life. This is your life. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Literally, I know people hate my hair. I know people hate my hair, but what that does is remind me I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for anyone else's approval. And it's fun, man. It's also like, it's good for my employer to be a little edgy and have people dislike certain things, especially if they're things I like. So there it is. By the way, I'll have glasses in some of these shots and not others. We don't do continuity around here. Okay, from at MMA Halls. Awesome people if you follow it at MMA Halls. If you don't, great people, great content. Also, it's the best name ever. At MMA Halls. Now that you're a father, what are your thoughts on fighters having their kids in attendance at their fights? Should children be subjected to watching their parents potentially get severely hurt? Yeah, I'm a dad now, and it's the best thing ever. It's also, yeah, changes everything. And every single person that's ever had a kid, before you have kids, tell you it'll change everything. You're like, yeah, I get it. But you don't get it. And then all of a sudden you get it. Having said that, Mark Coleman, after he got beaten to crap by Fedor, his face is wrecked, and there's footage of him holding his two daughters, and they're crying. And he's telling them, Fedor's a really nice guy, let's go have some fun. They're upset. There's something really moving about that. There's something, I share it often on Father's Day. There's something moving about that, of how proud he is and how much he cares about them. But also now as a dad, there's something really moving. I really don't want to ever see my daughter that upset. I know that that is part of life. She will be that upset at some point, but I don't want to be responsible for it. So I'm very glad that, you know, I had a stretch of professional fights. It helped me learn more about martial arts. I'm glad that my daughter came along after. So when I show her footage of me getting beat up, I'll also show her footage of me winning, which will be very exciting. But when I show her that, she'll know I'm not hurt at that moment. It's tough. Everyone's different. Everyone's different. For some people, having their family there will be so motivating. Like it'll be just everything to them. And who am I to judge them? And then for others, it could be a distraction. It could be difficult. Right now, my daughter is just a little over 2. There is no way I could let her see that. But when she's 10, I got a feeling she would love to. Although I don't fight anymore, I'm old. So, but each their own. But I definitely do see it differently. All right, at McDojo Life. You do follow McDojo Life. If you don't, you're crazy. He does incredible stuff. At McDojo Life. What has been your favorite gig to commentate so far and why? I get to commentate like 5 or 6 things I love right now. And I've commentated over 600 or 700 shows. My friend John Ramdeen and I did 300 or 400 when we used to work at Fight Network. Best of Pancrase, we did hundreds of those. Best of Deep. I've got to commentate hundreds, 500, 600, 700 shows. So 6,000, 7,000 fights. And I love them all. I currently commentate 5 or 6 shows. If anyone has 5 or 6 kids, let me ask you, which kid do you like the best, right? Impossible to answer McDojo life. But there are a few shows that I just am so unbelievably passionate about right now. Jorge Masvidal's Game Bred Bare Knuckle MMA is so visceral. I'm wearing it. It is so visceral. It's so raw. It's so honest. It's so Jorge. I love doing that show. There's a show in Amsterdam called Levels Fight League that is just like, it has its own identity, and there's a real love of martial artistry within this show. Amazing fighters, amazing. Donovan the matchmaker just puts on beautiful fights. I fly across the ocean to commentate that show because I love it. Levels Fight League, love it. The fights are fantastic. The people are fantastic. As long as I can keep going, I'm gonna keep doing that show. Karate Combat. Karate Combat is honestly just like a real joy, right? The fights are amazing, of course. It's in a pit, which is incredible. The people, boss, President Awesome, Josh, I get to work with George St. Pierre, and I get to work with Wonder Boy and Sensei Lyoto, and it's amazing. It's Big Mike. Big Mike is a YouTuber. Big Mike is really, really, really smart. Maybe he doesn't want you to know that. People talk about Big Mike like all he is Logan Paul's best friend. Big Mike is highly intelligent, hilarious, and really improvisational. He's super talented. But Karate Combat, honestly, the fights are beautiful. For me, as an individual, as somebody who's like, sees my job, I try to live like an artist. I get to do my thing. President Awesome and all the producers, the people I work with are amazing. The producers and the directors, they literally go, okay, and then there'll be a spot here, and we'll find Robin, and there's no script or direction or anything. They're just like, you do the thing you do, which is like, that doesn't exist in a television or content world. They literally just say, the camera will go to you, and then you do a thing you do. It's amazing, and it's so fun. God, there's so many. BKB. BKB was just bought by BYB, so maybe I'll be working with both. That's a wonderful show. BKB is like classic old school bare knuckle. If you follow at BKB or at BYB, old school bare knuckle descended from Irish travelers and British bare knuckle boxers, and it's done, the British arm of it is done in a venue within the O2 Arena, and it is just full of the most fascinating people. And you ask them about boxing, ask them about, mainstream boxing, they're like, I don't watch that. I watch bare knuckle. Like, it's not like a thing they watch in addition. That's their thing. They love it. So, God, and this is not a commentary gig, but I work with Bruce Lee's family, and I analyze and commentate and create bits and pieces of art within the Bruce Lee family companies. And that is unbelievable. There's probably some other, I get to do some cool analysis pieces for PFL, which of course, for me is like the quality of the fights and the quality of the looks is as mainstream as the UFC and the look and the high-end nature of it, but it's not as corporate as that. I've done work with them at different times in the past, and maybe I will again. I don't know. But it's so corporate. Like, it's so, and ESPN and the UFC, they're just so corporate. It's just I'm a bad fit for that, and it's a bad fit for me. So what I've gotten to kind of do in the long run is, you could be a part of this very corporate structure or do everything else. And I kind of get to do everything else. I'm also doing some work around martial art called Dambe, which is out of Nigeria, and they wrap their fists in rope. I get to analyze Lethway. My friend Dave LeDuc has a promotion that has kind of taken some of the ideas of Lethway and mutated it. Lethway is a Burmese bare knuckle fighting that allows headbutts. This is what I love, right? All this counterculture, outsider, connoisseur stuff. That's what I love. But I know that I've ran on for a long time and chased for content. We can pull out 2 or 3 of those And we can leave this in, by the way. We can do whatever we want, right? The audience, the people who are watching this, they get to see whatever we do if they want to. Maybe they don't. Maybe they already changed the channel. But channel, what year is it? Channel. But yeah, I love every show that I get to work on. And I'm also working on a very big thing that starts next year. It's an entire season of something. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but it's really cool. But yeah, I'm super lucky, man. It's crazy. I get to do so many really cool things, from professional karate to MMA in Amsterdam to bare knuckle MMA for Jorge Masvidal. All these cool things, to working for Bruce Lee's family. Right now, there's never been a happier person with what they get to do than this guy. And I'm super grateful. Okay, at turquoise_cowgirl_jewelry. Here's a question. Which martial art is most effective in real world situations? It's an age-old debate, and I will not be able to resolve it today, and neither will anyone, because everything changes, right? Things happen in waves. Why was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so, and of course it's insanely effective the better you get at it today, but why was it so incredibly effective, at early stages of professional MMA and free fighting and Vale Tudo? Because nobody understood it, right? The less the real world person knows about the thing you're doing, the better it will be. This is true in life. This is true in all things. If you had to negotiate something, being unpredictable will be incredibly valuable, right? All things in life, if I know something and you do not know it, that gives me great power. So all martial arts are effective if the person that you're fighting with or defending yourself from doesn't understand what you're doing, right? And that will always change. That will always change. Martial arts that were created for the military, Krav Maga was the Israeli military created it. Anything that was created to really damage the person and to be as effective as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible to sort of eliminate a threat will be very valuable in real life situations. But if you're really good at throwing a punch and the attacker is on drugs and doesn't know anything about it, you can use your training in boxing effectively, right? All martial arts, if you are trained well in them, are effective. But that leads us to another question. And people will often say to me, what martial art should I put my kid in? Or they'll get even more specific and they'll say, what's the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school to train at in Toronto? My answer is the one closest to your house. Because the most important variable about your skill development in a martial art is going to be attendance. Do you go? Do you train? Do you show up? Do you work? If there's a karate school that is right next to your house, it'll increase the chance of you going to it, right? If there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school on the other side of town and you skip it sometimes, it's not all that effective. The most important variable for developing martial arts skill is attendance and work, right? So the martial arts place closest to your house. But it often is going to be the teacher too. My daughter is going to train Muay Thai here in the town. I live in a town called Stratford. She's going to train with my friend Crew Joe, who I've trained with. I've made content with him, doing Muay Thai. She's going to start training at 3. Why is she going to train there? Well, because he's a great coach, a great teacher, a great crew. Who cares, right? If he was a karate instructor, if he was a jiu-jitsu instructor, and I knew him and I knew he cared and I knew he cared about learning, what is a 3? My daughter's not going to fight people, I hope. I want her to defend herself, but I hope she's not going to be a professional fighter or any of that nonsense. So she needs to learn discipline, hard work, development, the beauty of getting better at something, and hopefully she loves it. I love human movement. I love martial arts most, but I was a gymnast as a kid, and I love human movement. There's something incredibly beautiful about it. Also, tangent, this is not the most effective martial art, but I started training Tai Chi. Now my literally friends of mine the other day said, Tai Chi doesn't work. And I said, Tai Chi works. I'm not there to learn how to fight. I know how to fight. How something works is related to what the objective is. The objective of doing Tai Chi is movement meditation, mindfulness, calming the mind, connecting with the body, disconnecting myself from my cell phone and fast thoughts. Tai Chi's great for that. If your grandpa goes and starts training Tai Chi, he will not be able to defend himself, but he will be calmer. He may live longer. His body may be healthier. So things work dependent on the objectives. But yeah, all martial arts are great, but I do love Tai Chi right now. At streetbeefs_scrapyard. Now, Street Beefs is, the name is compelling, but it's essentially amateur fighting, variety of rule sets, done in a fairly safe environment. And they do have medics and people there. I don't know what the legalities are where they do it, but it's very popular on the internet. At Street Beef Scrapyard, what are your thoughts on backyard fights? It's actually a pretty loaded question for me, and because like most things, if you got a simple answer to something, you probably haven't given it that much thought, right? And I don't have a simple answer. Part of me loves street beefs. Also, Jorge Masvidal is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Like I said, I work for him too, and I commentate the show. He's very inspiring. I find him very inspiring. I know some of Kimbo Slice's family. I found Kimbo Slice to be an incredibly inspiring person. I never really got to know him ever, but watching his story and then getting to know his son a little bit and talking to Jorge about him and stuff, I find Kimbo Slice very inspiring. Part of me worries about, about backyard fighting. The effect it might have on some 12-year-old kids. There are negatives around most things. There's negatives around professional televised combat sports. But the lover of combat in me absolutely loves street beefs. And I do breakdowns of street beefs on my social pages, on my Instagram and TikTok all the time. The professional martial arts analyst in me, of course, feels a natural hesitation. But that dichotomy, I enjoy. That discomfort, I enjoy. Fights are not for everybody, right? Fights of any kind are not for everybody. And now that I've got to know the Street Beefs people a little bit in the Street Beef Scrapyard, they have medical people there. They train their refs. They make sure that nobody, including the crowd, is under the influence. So they do a lot of things to increase the safety, and that's the best you can do. There is some really hardcore fighting. I watch all martial arts. I watch it all. Actually, the thing I watch the least these days is the UFC, and that's no hate. But I do analyze and commentate so many other things that if I also, 3 Saturday nights a month, spent 5 hours watching, I'd never see my family. So actually, the very mainstream is what I'm consuming the least. I'm most interested in things out on the fringes. There's some stuff in Eastern Europe where they fight on concrete. That's far too far for me. I've still looked at it because I am, very drawn to martial arts. But for me, that's too far. Concrete, we are now weaponizing literally the ground, right? Street beefs, in the range of what's out there on the bleeding edge now, actually are much safer than many. So I have to stop a tiny bit south of fully endorsing street beefs, but as a person, I am a fan. Also from Street Beefs. Question: do you believe that the fights Jake Paul is fighting are rigged and designed for more entertainment? If bets are being taken on fights and you are rigging a fight, that's racketeering. That is deep fraud. If you rig fights, knowingly rig fights that bets are being taken on, and you're found out, you'll go to jail for decades. That very line is what says to me, super wealthy people like Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, whomever, are not going to endanger. They're already rich and famous. They're not going to endanger their freedom to go to jail for 30 years to fake fights. Tyron Woodley was knocked out by Jake Paul. Much love to Tyron Woodley. Appreciate everything, all his fights. Tyron Woodley, people were saying, you really think Tyron Woodley would rig a fight? So I understand why we get to this point that we think these are rigged fights. We're living in a bizarro world where some of these things just can't be real. But in this case, MGM Grand is not going to be fucked with by some kids faking fights. They are not in the business of losing $100 million. If there's any evidence ever by anybody that anything was faked, people are going to jail for a long, long time. So for that reason, I really don't think any of these are faked. I know it seems weird, and I know we're probably living in a simulation or a parallel universe, but these are real fights. From my friend at Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard, you are a legend, a great man. Hector is an inventor and a philosopher and one of the great fighters of the modern era. Much love to Hector Lombard. At Hector Lombard, who is your favorite philosopher? It was Bruce Lee that got me into philosophy as a young kid. Bruce Lee was one of my idols, still to this day. Deeply inspiring to me as a kid who was a martial artist. But then when we started to look at life, look at aspects of life, that's what started me taking interest in sort of seeing the whole picture and softening your view of things. And Bruce Lee, his philosophy was essentially, he would, much like his martial arts training, he would pick and choose bits and pieces, this punch, this kick, this whatever. He did the same thing with sort of the buffet of philosophy, and he took bits and pieces. Of course, I love Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I love the Book of Five Rings, Musashi. Those are classics. I know it's very popular today, but I'm really into Stoic philosophy as well, Marcus Aurelius and stuff. In the world we live in a very stressful world. I feel it too, and Stoicism helps you view the world as it is. So I really like Stoicism. My favorite modern philosopher is Robert Greene. Some people know his books, The Daily Laws, The 50th Law, The 48 Laws of Power. He's written books on military strategy. My favorite of his books is Mastery, where he has looked at some of the great masters in the world of different things, and followed their path to see what is the path of trying to chase mastery in whatever you do. I don't know if Robert Greene would call himself a philosopher. He's a writer. But his books and his short form and long form content in the world of media, it's all very modern philosophical stuff. And I read his Daily Laws every day. It's a little excerpt from something that he has written in the past. I love that format. And but from Marcus Aurelius and Sun Tzu, through Musashi, Bruce Lee in the 70s, reintroducing, using martial arts to reintroduce people to philosophical thought. And then, Ryan Holiday and Robert Greene today. I really am much more interested in these bigger ideas of how, you see when I study martial arts, I start to see it in all things. And then I start to see all things in it. And a lesson that I learned from breaking down a small piece of fascinating or interesting content on my Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I can learn about how to be a better dad from that. So that the general philosophical way to see the world, I just enjoy viewing the world around me more and more in that way. We don't do continuity around here. Oh, this is cool. At Kendall Rusing. Kendall's a jiu-jitsu champion, and she's a friend. I've commentated with her, and I love, she's young, she's quite young, but she sees the world in really smart and cool ways, and I love watching her stuff. Kendall says, what's your favorite thing to see in new athletes when you're commentating that tells you they're going to be around for a long time? That's a really cool question. I think I'll broaden the question to, what do you see in anyone that tells you they're going to be doing that thing for a long time? Passion. Now, I know a lot of people have passion, but passion in the moment, being present in the moment, loving the now, as esoteric as that sounds, that's everything, right? There's a lot of people who will tell you, I'm gonna be a famous YouTuber. They will not be a famous YouTuber, because the people who are going to be a famous YouTuber are people who say, oh my God, I love making YouTube videos. I love to figure out how the camera works, and I love to play with the thumbnail, and I love to talk. Those are the people that'll be good at things. You'll meet a kid when they're 10 and they'll say, I want to be the MVP of a Super Bowl. It's like, you're not going to be the MVP of a Super Bowl. Now, as a dad, I will encourage you, but as a dad, I'll also say, we need you to love football. love football, love practicing football. Those are the people who will be great martial artists, great competitors, great creators, great gardeners, and great teachers. People who love the practice of the doing. Because everything in life gets easier when you love the practice of the doing. You love the now. You love the present moment. Because, how do you get good at anything? You do it a lot. How do you do something a lot? You like doing it. So imagine you love to, we'll use YouTube videos because it's simple. Imagine you love making YouTube videos. You love making them. So you make a lot of them. In the making a lot of them, you get deeply curious about them. While you're deeply curious, you look at different things. Even when you're not making them, you're reading about them, you're researching, it's what you love. You're gonna constantly improve, you're gonna try new things, you're gonna do more and more and more. The idea, I think it's here somewhere. One of my books here is Outliers. I don't know if that's actually the one that this is in. It is a Malcolm Gladwell book, but the idea of the 10,000 hours, I think it is Outliers. The idea of the 10,000 hours. What happens in 10,000 hours isn't you blindly practice. You practice practicing. You learn to learn better. You develop the ability to develop the ability. That's the joy of anything. And, in a room full of high-end MMA fighters, say, or high-end karatekas, you see a lot of that. But they didn't get to this room without that, right? That's why they're there. It is the joy of being present in the practice that will make people great. And, some of the cliches, first to practice, last to leave, clean the mats, all those things are wonderful. But it's the real presence of the thing, the obsessive love of the thing, not the outcome of the thing, not the love of winning, the love of practicing. The love of doing, the love of learning. And that applies to all of us. A lot of people, when you start to do well at something, and you're fortunate enough to learn some of these things and you do well at things, people ask me, how do I find my passion? How do I do that? I want to accomplish these things. The key to it is do them. I know that sounds crazy, but if you love something, you do it. And if you do it and you love it and you get better at it, and you get better at it and you learn more, and the process of doing that makes you love it more, it's a virtuous cycle. Trust me, whatever you do in life is going to take a ton of work. So it might as well be something you love. At Falcar89 asks, how would you relate playing music to the art of MMA? Someone asked me that actually the other day at Karate Combat. And this is so weird, and I've only just started to notice this, but whatever you do in life, you're learning along the way, and your life experience becomes incorporated or sewn into the tapestry of the thing you do. So I had no idea of this, but when I used to sing in a rock band, so this question is asked of me because I used to sing in a rock band. Chase, drop in a couple awful pictures here, or maybe even a video clip for 10 seconds. Bink. So someone asked me this the other day, and whatever it is you do, if you do it for a lifetime, and if you're lucky enough to find what you love and do it for a lifetime, your life experience will be sewn into the tapestry of the thing, right? So I was a martial artist as a kid and then a singer later in my 20s and 30s. And when I would first start to sing, people would mention that I had this weird stance, and they called it a Rockstar stance. I never thought anything of it. But where it came from was like a horseback riding stance, horseback, and we did this thousands of times. Horseback riding stance, 10 punch, last punch, and you would do this in karate or taekwondo as a kid over and over and over for years of your life. And it never occurred to me when I was singing in a rock band that that's what was kind of coming out as an expression. So now, years later, particularly in Karate Combat, where they hand me a mic and I'm all flashy dressed, and they say, walk out onto this catwalk and do a thing about, karate or philosophy or whatever, or do your thing. I end up taking this stance again, which started out as a martial arts stance, was expressed as a rock singer, and then later now mutates into being the way that I express martial arts again. So it's this weird full circle, and it's so cool. Get tired doing a horse stance. I only did 100 punches there. You're probably only going to show 2 or 3 of them too. Okay, this is an interesting one. At brawl.energy. Thoughts on the convergence of combat sports and crypto? I don't know anything about crypto at all. But when that guy, Altcoin Daily, at Karate Combat, put his hand on my shoulder, and then I didn't know who he was. He's got like 1 million followers on YouTube or something. They talk about crypto all day. When that guy put his hand on me and I said, literally get the fuck off me. Chase, you can drop that video in here.
Seriously, get the fuck off me. These are incredibly difficult things to comprehend, and those guys don't know how to fight.
All these crypto nerds, and I use that word lovingly, they entertained me all day long for my flight home that day. There were memes, we'll flash a few of them up here, Chase. There are memes about stuff, and those are highly creative people. The crypto thing, I know people like getting rich and making money, and I'm not super motivated by money, which I found actually to be something that the less I prioritized money, the more money I made. The more I prioritize art and love and passion, the better. But yeah, I don't know anything about crypto. I don't know anything about the money of crypto, but I do know those nerds are highly creative and hilarious. And so crypto and fighting ended up really binding together in Karate Combat. The creators of Karate Combat are deep in the Web3 world, right? And there's like a token, a karate token that it's called Up Only Gaming. So you bet, I don't know if that's the right word, wager, something, the tokens on who's gonna win. And people love it, right? People love it. But I'm a martial arts specialist, but I do find it really fun being immersed in all these Web3 people because they're creative, they're funny, they're smart, they have their passion for their weird shit is just as deep for my passion for my weird shit, so I relate to them fully. But that dude, Altcoin Daily, better not put his hands on me again. All right, we'll add this to it, at Cedrus. Is it complex and busy doing multiple gigs for different organizations? Does someone help you? So behind that camera is my friend Chase. He helps me shoot some things and edit some stuff and like do some of his art on it. And then I have somebody in Malaysia that helps me with a couple of things. I've been able to hire somebody to help me with my lawn and help clean my house so I can work more. And I think that's it. I have a lawyer that really, really helps me. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name, but she deeply helps me to sort of sift through some contracts and with strategy, she encourages me. If I can say her name, I'll say it next time. I'll ask her, I'll send her this. But that's it. Every post is me, every build is me, outside of whatever Chase adds on top or my team in Malaysia, a great guy. Ads, but otherwise I build every last piece of it. I book a lot of my flights. Each one of these shows has a team. So you build a relationship with the Karate Combat team. They become family, and that's one of the reasons it's so fun to work with all these different places. You get inspired by all these different people. The guy who really, Jorge Masvidal's partner, Dean Toole, super smart guy. And I see the way that he works. His staff loves him. They'll run through a wall for him. That's really something you can learn about. How does he do it? Why do they love him so much? What is it that he's done to do that? President Awesome at Karate Combat. You're around him. You see the way he's trying to manage 37 things, focuses in on certain things, pulls things together, takes risks, tries different things. So there's different teams. You learn different things from different people. And within each show, there's somebody that'll help you maybe with some of your travel stuff, somebody that'll help you, with your hotels and stuff. But in a lot of these cases, I'm building, 30 pieces a month for my own platforms, a piece a week for Bruce Lee family, which I love, traveling 2 or 3 times a month to these different, it's a lot, but I love that, right? I love that. It's this, and it's my wife and daughter, and there's a lot of, and when I'm with them, I try to be as present as humanly possible. And that's most of my life. But you would be so lucky to get to do what you love all day, every day, and build an entire business around it and have it pay for your whole life. It's an incredible thing. I get to live like an artist and get paid like a neurosurgeon. It's really nuts. I could use more help. And I don't know exactly how to structure a staff, but I need one, a small staff, a very small, agile staff. I need a very small, agile staff. I don't know how I'm going to structure that. And I'm going to do it very, very, very slowly. And I'm going to keep so that I can write every single piece of thing that goes out and write every post. I still want to do that so that people know that it's me and it's passionately me. But yes, it's very hard. And does someone help you? A little, but it's a gift. And nobody's more grateful than me. Okay, from @CageLegacy MMA, what motivates you daily? Cage Legacy is a great show, great show. There's so many really cool shows all over planet Earth right now. So motivation for me is a weird one because motivation goes up and down, right? You're not, but are you motivated to brush your teeth? And are you motivated to kiss your family? And are you motivated to eat good food? And are you motivated to do fun things? That doesn't require motivation, right? So rather than figure out how to be motivated, I figured out how to do the things that I'll do even when I'm tired or grumpy or, not unfocused or overworked or stressed. I get stressed, or anxious or I figured out slowly how to build a life where the things I do, I love doing, so I don't need motivation. But I get asked about positivity a lot. So motivation, I don't know. I don't know. I'd try to have a life where motivation isn't important because what I get to do is so fun, I'll do it whether I'm motivated or not. But I get asked about positivity a lot. And I'm not positive 100% of the time. Nobody is. No one is. But I'm way more than I was 2 years ago and way more than I was 5 years before that because it's a practice. And it's not a bullshit practice. It's a practice in seeing the world through, a perspective that is truthful. And there's a lot of truths, and that's a slippery subject. But yes, it's true that you got to go to the office and you got to do X, but it's also true that you get to do that. And it's also true that I saw a comedian say this the other day, 60 years ago, there was no such thing as a warm shower, right? We all, for the most part, if you're watching this, you're probably eating and you're probably getting rest. You're probably safe a lot of the times. You probably have a lot of, people around you, people that are your friends. And if you don't, those are all things that you can still acquire. And those things are so rare. We are among the happiest and most, I don't know about happiest. We are among the most successful 0.1% of all humans who have ever lived, right? And I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And I look at a lot of things, and some of this, people asked earlier in the show about philosophy, and I mentioned Stoicism. Some of these things do come from reading these types of things and seeing these types of things, but seeing them truthfully. No rah-rah stuff, but you look at the world and you appreciate what you have. You appreciate that you're healthy, and you appreciate the moments that you live, and you appreciate your experience, and you ask more of yourself and then cut others slack. And as soon as you start really, truly doing that, everything becomes a little more positive. Someone cuts you off in traffic, my first thought, I swear to you, it is 99% of my first thought would be, man, that person literally could have found out that their mom passed an hour ago. Or that person could be coming back from chemo. Or that person, just found out bad news. Or that person's sick. That's my first thought. My first thought isn't, what an asshole. I can't believe it. How did that guy not see me? My first thought is to cut them some slack. And that's not 100% of the time. It may be 96 now. And when I'm really feeling good, it's 99. And when I'm really burnt out, it's 89. But it's a practice of always looking for the explanation that might be one that cuts the people the most slack. It makes you happier. And it could be true. We don't know why that person treated you bad. But it's and often we'll go, well, now we saw his true colors. Did we? Or did we see him at his worst because something awful is happening in his life? I know when I've been rude to people, when I've been really a dick, there probably is a reason. But when I do it, I try to look at myself and go, that's unacceptable. That really is me. Don't make any excuses. Learn from it and improve. When someone else does it, I try to say, there's a reason that they did it, and that's a good reason. And that could be true. It could also be true that they're rude and mean and awful, but it could be true that they're just having a hard day. And when you do it yourself, ask more of yourself, demand more of yourself, create higher expectations for how you are in the world, but cut other people some slack. And that comes from Stoic philosophy, among other places. As soon as you do that, the idea of being positive starts to take shape. You start to look at things from a positive perspective. Also, the older you get, your choices are either going to become grumpier or become happier. And both of those are within your control. You just have to spend some time thinking about it. But I'll try to go deeper into that next time. Because if you're, Chase, this is the last question for sure. We're putting this one at the end. Because if you're still here, then you like hanging out with me. And so I'll do this, I'll try to examine, you know what, actually, we're gonna try to wrap the last question of every Ask Robin Black with something about positivity or optimism or happiness or the search for something positive. We're gonna try to wrap it every single time with that. Just came up with it now, but we are 100% doing it. Thank you for hanging with me. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna try to do this at least once a month. We might get to a point where we can do 2 or 3 or 4 a month, but I'm gonna try to do it at least once a month. Thanks, Chase. Thank you. Till next time, enjoy the hostilities, my friends.